Sorry.
All right, we're getting ready to start. Everyone?
Tim always to speak.
You wish to speak.
Jingle.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say good evening to everyone that's here tonight. Welcome to the Village Council meeting. It is 6:30, December 20th, and this will be our last council meeting for the year 2018. And I guess all of you figured you wanted to get in here for that last meeting, all right, before the year was over. So I'm glad you're all here tonight and welcome. Please stand and join us now in the Pledge of Allegiance. You got two more cards? Okay. Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are present.
Yes, Mayor.
And the first item on the agenda tonight, I'm going to have to hold off on it because it's a very special recognition of something that we're presenting called the Life Saving Award. But the person who actually's life got saved is not here yet, all right? I guess so him and his family are making their way here, so I'll figure out how we get that in. Somebody's waving their hand.
We're here.
They're here? Lou, you're supposed to tell me.
Well, we didn't talk to him. We didn't see him yet.
Okay.
They're here.
Everybody's here? Lou, they said they're here. They snuck by you. Is Daniel's here? Okay, Daniel, okay. And your family. Angela is here? Okay, Angela is here. All right. We have all the players here, so we're going to go with the original agenda. This is called the Village of Royal Palm Beach Life Saving Award, and it will be presented tonight to Angela Nelson. This is a very interesting story that happened, and it just warms my heart to be able to share this with everyone tonight and to recognize Angela as well as Daniel. This is awarded to Angela for her act of courage and bravery on December 2nd, 2018. Daniel Bryant had collapsed in the lobby of the Recreation Center after participating in a basketball game. Daniel stopped breathing and began to have a seizure. At this time, the Recreation Center program coordinator, that would be Angela Nelson, using her CPR training, sprang into action. She assessed Daniel's situation and determined that he was unconscious and unresponsive. She immediately began compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Angela continued performing CPR until paramedics arrived. Thanks to Angela's swift actions and perseverance, Daniel has been released from the hospital and is now with his family on the road to recovery. Angela, we give you this award with great gratitude and heartfelt thanks on this 20th day of December 2018 on behalf of the Village Council. Thank you so much. Please come up. Daniel. Now, the family has an award too. We're going to let them do that as soon as we finish this photo op. And then we'll let them have the microphone, and we'll give you a chance to make that presentation. Absolutely. Okay? Good. Come on. I got certified a few years ago in CPR training, and they told us that we didn't have to do that anymore.
Right.
But,
If you're a healthcare provider, it's.
well, but what they really was saying, hey, talk, we have a little defibrillator.
Right, right, right.
No, we don't have it right here.
We were sure. Oh, stop.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. Coming up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carl Bryant. I'm Daniel Bryant's dad. I know that the gentleman there spoke on this event taking place, but you need to really know the severity of it. Daniel wasn't just unconscious, Daniel was dead. Daniel was without oxygen for more than 5 minutes. When we got to the hospital, when I got to the hospital, the doctor said to me, "Sir, your son was dead." And whoever that lady was saved his life. And I said, wow. And at that very moment, Daniel was on life support. Well, we believe in miracles. We serve a God that is real. And we serve a God that if you believe in him and you trust in him and you do right by him, then if he doesn't save your life, he'll save your loved one's life. And so tonight, we're so grateful for her, whom, Mr. Lou, thank you, sir, for having her. That's first off. You know, he said to me, you know, we gave her the training, but she had extra training. And the funny part of this story was he said she never used it before. But God always allowed you to use it at the what? Right time. So on the behalf of us, we own 2 nonprofit organizations. One of our nonprofit is Repair Shop Outreach Ministry. And then we have a second nonprofit, which is called the Ex-Felon Association. We own an ABA professional basketball team also. And Daniel is one of the players on that team. And so tonight you see, on the behalf of Ex-Felon Association, and the name of our team is called Ex-Freedom. We work with people who are felons, and we stand by of changing the lives of people who are ex-felons. And this is the first professional basketball team of ex-felons in the whole United States. And so we're moving forward into that. And what we do is we give out an award. It's called Reimagining Life. And we're into the private prisons as well as we're into the state prisons, changing lives of those who are felons and ex-felons and incarcerated inmates. So tonight, and by the way, the lady that's holding and filming this, her name is Sandy Davis. She's the general manager of the basketball team. On tonight, we present this award to Miss Angela Nelson, only on the behalf of what an angel she is. And I have to say this, I must say this. Today in a world, a day and a time to where there's nothing but chaoticness and foolishness going on with racism and foolishness, she is that epitome of why we need to come together and put the foolishness to the side. Because if she had looked at that in any other way, today he wouldn't be here. And I'm so grateful for her tonight. And I want to thank you so much. So thank you. Thank you.
So great,
Not speak?
great.
Okay.
Great story.
It is just amazing. We have that within us.
I know.
We just need to show it more often.
Can I give it to her? Thank you. Okay, same thing. I just want to close with one last comment, is that, and it's an inscription that we actually is also included on the plaque that was awarded by the village. We hear often about, we hear the word heroes. People, somebody is a hero, they did a heroic action. But, you know, heroes are people, individuals like yourselves, who are, through no choice of your own, thrust into a situation of extraordinary circumstances, and it's how you react to that extraordinary circumstance that transitions you from being just a regular person like we all are to an actual hero, as Angela has become. So I just want to share that, and it's a great story. I don't know if any of you watch the nightly news on CBS or NBC. It's the national news that covers everything across the country, and they always have at the end what you call a feel-good story, right, that happens somewhere around the country. This is the kind of thing I think should be included as one of their feel-good stories. And who knows, they don't have a time frame on when the events happen as to when they, do the filming and air it. But I just want to say that if, this is the kind of story that should be included as a feel-good story, especially this time of the year. And Daniel's still with us and with his family. So thank you again. With that said, at this time, we're going to have our reports.
Proclamation.
I'm sorry, your proclamation. Yeah, you're right. I missed that. I have to make a proclamation. We're approaching that time of the year where we're going to be having an election next March. And as per our Code of Ordinances, I have to read this proclamation to you tonight. As provided for in Section 8.1 of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, I hereby proclaim that on Tuesday, March 12, 2019, the Village of Royal Palm Beach will hold its municipal elections. The election will be for groups 2 and 4 and will be elected for a term of 2 years each. The election will be held on Tuesday, March 12, 2019, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at various locations in the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, namely the Village Hall, the Village Recreation Center, the David B. Farber Training Center, the Madison Green Clubhouse, Royal Palm Beach Community High School, Royal Palm Beach Library, H.L. Johnson Elementary, Crestwood Middle School, Christ Fellowship Church, and Calypso Bay Water Park, in case you want to swim after you vote. This proclamation is proclaimed this 20th day of December, 2018. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Okay, so now we've gotten that done. That will be read into the record, and it will be published on our website, as well as Vector, right? Yeah, okay, good. Thanks. Now we have reports. Last Wednesday or last Thursday, we had I guess it was the last meeting of the year for the TPA, the Transportation Planning Agency, also known as the Metropolitan Planning Organization. There really wasn't anything really eventful of significance that affects the Western communities in particular. It was more of some, administrative approvals, appointment of the chair and the vice chair for the next coming year. So I'll keep you posted as things progress. I will say that the process of the TPA becoming an independent agency is moving forward. As I reported a couple of months ago, that their lease had been approved for their location, and they're going to be starting work. And they're targeting probably May, June of 2019 to actually be up and operating in a new location. But I'll keep you posted on that as we continue to go along. The other point of note was that we did have some discussion, which I was glad to hear, on the subject of mobility and mobility planning. In other words, we need to figure out how do we reroute or reallocate some of the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars we spend now to build more roads, diverting some of those funds to start building other options of transportation. The goal being that you won't have to have a car to get from point A to point B. And that's really how we're going to affect traffic throughout the region. It's coming up with these alternative options. But it will start with getting our thinking process and planning process redirected in a way that we actually begin saying, we need to redirect some of these funds. And that was a lot of the conversation and discussion that did occur at the last meeting, and hopefully we'll continue to pick that up as we move forward. So with that, I think we're starting with you, Selena. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much to the staff and everyone who came out at Winterfest. So thanks for putting that on. It was a great event and lots of new things this year too. So I like that we're always progressing and doing different things. And also thank you very much for the lights that are going up around the village. And that just goes to show it's another event that or something else that we've done that was started by our residents that asked for that. So last year, the last several years, we've had many of our residents that asked for more holiday lights. And as you can go around the village, you can see how it's very festive here. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Hill, thank you very much for writing a very comprehensive, easy to understand explanation for our landscaping and vegetation maintenance. So I appreciate that. That's coming out in the newsletter. That was very helpful for that. And I'd actually like to thank the mayor. And I know we include everything in our minutes that we do from everything, but last council meeting we had, Miss Savannah came in and sent a letter to the village, and and it's included in our minutes. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for including her letter in that in depth that we always do. And happy holidays.
Okay, thanks, Selena.
The only report is, I think I saw everyone from the council at Crestwood Middle School last week. They had a career day, and it was really great to have the opportunity to go out and tell some middle school kids about what we do and what civic engagement is. And I was lucky enough to speak to my son's class, so I did get to embarrass him a little bit. And I got a little bit of one-on-one time with the science teacher to find out exactly what he wasn't turning in. So he got it turned in, and he will pass science. So that was helpful. And
So not only did you make your son
Not
get
only-
up under the desk,
yes,
but it was a 2-for-1.
It was a twofer.
Parent-teacher conference on top of the...
it was nice.
Okay.
But I appreciate Dr. Nance, inviting us and having us over there to speak at Career Day. It's an extremely valuable and important event. Good. And that's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Every year, we have an event that's actually, we participate in an event that's actually a nationwide event that has to do with getting kids interested and exciting kids about reading. The event is called Read for the Record. And as I said, it's nationwide. And what it amounts to is a single book is picked out each year to be read throughout the country and various locations, everything from preschools to regular elementary schools, charter schools. And within the county, sponsored by the Literacy Coalition of Palm Beach County, there's a little bit of competition between the cities and that type of thing. And so I'm pleased to say that we've actually more than doubled the number of kids that we've read to in the past. And we've been doing this for about 5 years. We're up to about 433, or actually 433 kids. And we got an honorable mention this year. We got a long way to go to win the competition for large cities, but every year we do get a certificate, and so we'll be adding this. I'm going to hand it to our clerk, to our collection of certificates. The reading activity is an amazing thing. It's a fun thing to do, and it is an important thing to do. I think you all probably know that if kids aren't reading at grade level by the 3rd grade, it sets them up for problems from that point forward in their education process. So reading is so important. And being involved in something like this, I think it sets a great example. And I certainly would encourage everybody else to make sure you read to your kids, your grandkids, or neighborhood kids if you get the chance. So thank you.
Is that it?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to cede my report time and just wish you all a very Merry holiday and Happy New Year.
Okay. Right.
No report, Mayor.
Jennifer.
No report, thank you.
Okay. All right, that concludes our reports then for this evening. And now, I think the event you all came here for tonight, we're going to go to petitions. So if anyone has a petition to present to the council this evening, now would be the time to do it. Come on down. package with petitions. Joe Cecilia. And these are copies for council. Hello, good evening. Good evening. My name is Joe Cecilia. I live in Elysium at the Arbors. Been a resident of Palm Beach County for 48 years. Been a resident of Royal Palm Beach for over 17 years. I'm also the president of the Elysium HOA. I'm not any kind of activist. I've never championed any causes, and I'm not a real good public speaker. However, I'm a longtime resident and a voter that has a concern. I'm also part of a collection of like residents that oppose a project that has been proposed by 13th Floor Homes to convert half the golf course, a village golf course, into a residential community. We oppose this village project because we believe it will affect our quality of life, our property values, and the reasons that we chose for living in Royal Palm Beach. As you can see of the packet of information that I put together with the help of everyone, some of the reasons for our opposition. It also concludes the petition. Signatures that we collected are in process of collecting more. I think when that was printed, we had probably about 900. It's grown since then. And many other HOAs have been contacted and are gathering their concurrence in this opposition to this project. Yeah. It also includes an ad that we intend to put in the Village Crier so we could gather more opposition to this project. The population in Royal Palm Beach has grown tremendously. I moved here in about 2001, and the population by 2020 is going to be doubled that. Considering all the new residential developments already in process, as mentioned in the presentation, they alone are pushing the envelope in maintaining the peace and tranquility of this village. Then when you add other developments in the western communities, it compounds it further. Adding the Village Green project right here in the heart of this community will push it over the edge. I had many options for choosing Royal Palm Beach to live in. This project will now take away all my reasons for relocating here that I thought I was coming into 17 years ago. Thank you for the time. Okay. I hope you consider the information that we have, and we will be staying in touch with every one of you and asking for your support and asking for your concurrence on what we like to do. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
16 seconds. I have a few questions. I have a few questions. Can you come back up? I have a few questions for you. I'd like to make sure I get on the record. So I guess we know how this crowd feels.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to get a couple of points. I make sure that it's clearly indicated so that it's on the record. So the project that the petition and in your comments were referring to, and you kept referring to the project, is this proposal to build on part of the village golf course. 450 homes. But that's the, Yes. okay. Do you know approximately how many signatures you have here on this petition? So far, and this is as of a few days ago, there's about 900 there. 900 Yeah, here? Yeah. Okay. And it's continuing because we have intentions of soliciting at different venues and so forth. When you say different venues, what do you mean by different I venues? stand in front of Publix, going to the. Oh, you mean Green Market. within the village? Yeah, within the village. Okay. Now, just for the record, I want to make something clear. This petition will be vetted, okay? Vetted meaning that
absolutely.
the only signatures that count are people who are residents within the village. So getting people to sign up who don't live here, it's a waste of time, a waste of your effort. So we make that clear. Residents of the village are the meaningful signatures, and we will be
They
looking.
vote.
Okay, well, not because they vote, because this is their village.
Yeah.
And if you're not,
We
if you're
understand
not a
that.
resident here, then, go worry about where you live.
Keep
But
in mind also that when you put down 33411 as your zip code,
that's
comes
what I'm
up West
saying.
Palm Beach.
Residents is not residents of 33411. That doesn't,
But their
because
addresses are in there also.
actual addresses that are within the boundaries of the village
Yes.
are the valid address. I just wanted to share that with you, okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. And what I'm going to do now is I have several, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. I have several comment cards here that are related to the petition. I broke them down into two groups where you indicated you wish to speak and where you indicated you just were opposed, all right? I think it's pretty fair to say that I haven't seen any cards here when anyone said they support this. So if you still would like to speak, we'll give you time, and I'm going to ask to set that to, can you set that to 2? Because I want to give everybody a chance to speak, and that, all right. So with that said, we'll start out with Francis Spinger? That's you. You still want to speak? All these cards will go into the official record, and it is so noted that you are opposed. So, okay, thank you very much. Nat Wood? That's me. Come on up, sir.
How's the clock going? We okay? You want me to party? We can make it happen. You want me to start or wait till...
Right, no, good. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Nate Wood. I am a resident of one of the anchor communities in Royal Palm Beach, La Mancha. Absolutely love La Mancha. It is sweet. I grew up in Palm Beach County, specifically Boynton Beach. I met my wife, who has been a resident of Royal Palm Beach for over 20 years. And in the time that we were trying to figure out a place to raise our family, which includes our 2-year-old daughter, Leela, we wanted to find a place where we could grow forever.
Put it back to 3. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Use your phone, Diane.
I can keep my own time. No?
You know,
I got a lot of time. This is awesome.
Wow.
This is like the NFL trying to get the clock right.
No worries. Oh, man.
Take some time off the clock.
So my wife and I, when we were looking for a place to settle down, we picked Royal Palm Beach. And it was hard because I grew up in Boynton Beach. I knew everything there. But the one thing that killed Boynton Beach was overdevelopment and saturation. That was a complete turnoff to living there. And I completely envisioned that my wife, my family, we grow up in La Mancha, we get old here, we retire here. It's going to be fun. You're going to see me for a very long time. One of the things I wanted to read, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with your comprehensive plan. It's a fantastic 96-page document that talks about the vision of the village and what's going on and how... Yes. Yes. You guys put documents out there to read. I pull facts.
Okay.
And I'm a very data-driven person.
Good for you.
I'm a network engineer by trade, so...
I get it.
That's what I do. So one of the first goals in the comprehensive plan, this is pretty cool. Goal LU1, a mix of compatible land uses, which meets the needs of the village residents, maintains and enhances the community character, does not adversely impact existing neighborhood, and is developed concurrently with the needed infrastructure and facilities. That's
Says
pretty
it all.
powerful.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful statement. So for me, we bought in La Mancha because we are privileged enough to be able to back up to the golf course. We don't have a house behind us. We have some freedom, some privacy. It's great. Building back there will instantly tank our property value. And right now, one of the biggest things that faces La Mancha is traffic calming. We have speedsters that fly down Ponce de Leon Street. And I understand we did a survey and all that fun stuff, and I'm not going to get into that. But as a network engineer...
That's your 2 minutes.
What? It didn't even start.
24 seconds.
I have 24 seconds? Okay. There's something called Dijkstra's algorithm. If you're not familiar with that,
I'm familiar with that.
okay,
Yeah.
so it allows you to choose the shortest distance between point A and point B. That is used in Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze. As we know, we have development out west that's occurring. So in the event that someone pops open Google Maps on their way home and the fastest route to get home is blocked on Okeechobee, guess what? Ponce de Leon Street is now an available road to take. Building this is going to impact our property values and potentially enhance the situation that we have. Is that my buzzer? That's not counting down. So I just wanted to make it public record that I am against this for those reasons, and hopefully you guys will take that stance too.
Thank you very much for your comments. Paul Eisenman?
Yes, sir.
Come on up, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. And those two gentlemen eloquently said exactly what I wanted to say, so I won't take the 2 minutes or however many minutes I have. But what I will say is I live on Ponce de Leon also. I am on the golf course. I am a 19-year resident of Royal Palm Beach. I looked all over Palm Beach County when I moved into Florida, looked for the perfect spot for my family. That was it. Backing up to a golf course, seeing the sunsets, having the open space, that's where I wanted to be. That's where I chose to be. That's where I envisioned to stay for the rest of my life, in that home. Having this community built will destroy that. Will absolutely take away the open space, the feeling of what I bought into, the feeling of what Royal Palm Beach is all about with the open spaces, with the controlled land use. It has grown astronomically. And you take the the community that's going up in Crestwood, you take the community that's going to be going up at 441, you're going to have traffic nightmares. If you add on to it the community right here on the golf course, you now have gridlock on Okeechobee. And we can't do that. We've got to stop the growth. We've got to have open spaces. When I moved here, we had 3 golf courses. If we do this, we now have 1. That's wrong. Now let's think about this. The thousands of extra residents of the communities that are already being developed. If we use 13th floor's numbers and we say 30% of those new residents are golfers, guess what that does to that golf course? It makes it profitable. So if you want to keep the open space, take over the golf course. If they really want to sell it, which they told me they did not want to do, they were approached by the vultures from 13th floor to buy it. They didn't offer to sell it. They were approached. Buy the golf course. Give it to a golf course developer if Royal Palm Beach doesn't want to keep it, and keep it for open space. That's what we want. That's what we all want here in the room.
Thank you.
So if I could add that to the petitions also. It's another group of names of my neighbors. 100% are opposed to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Rosemary Clemens, come on down.
Good evening. I'm not going to be as nearly as eloquent as the gentleman that preceded me, but I too am a 24-year resident of Royal Palm Beach. I too am lucky enough to live on the golf course with the canal in my backyard, able to enjoy all the nice nature things that provides, all the water birds and everything else. And should this development be allowed to go through, I will lose all that. They came to our board meeting. They explained how they would line the back of our homes with trees, so we wouldn't have to look at their houses. But we'll also lose everything else that we hold dear at that location. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Barbara Rizzo, come on down, Barbara.
I've been thinking about what to say for so long since Joe put this together. Yes, I'm Barbara Rizzo. I'm a resident of the village of Royal Palm Beach. I live in the Elysium at the Arbors. I've lived at the Elysium of the Arbors for 17 years. We moved from Palm Beach Gardens, my husband and I, with a 3-year-old little boy and a baby in my tummy. We were also looking for a very wonderful place to raise our children and to grow old and retire. Unfortunately, I lost my husband in 2002, and I raised my 2 children there alone. But I've always felt safe in my community. I've always felt protected. I've always had freedom of space for my children to play and run as a single mom. And I have been in love with my community. And when I heard about this, a lover of golf has been my profession for over 20 years. To know that the village golf course was going to potentially go away or a project was going to be developed, I had to find out more about it. And when we went over to the golf course to meet these project builders, they were so excited to show us their beautiful, beautiful homes. Well, they were beautiful, but when you really looked closely, you saw their encroachment into, my home does not back to the golf course, it backs to the lake. But my neighbors back to the golf course, and what happened to their yard became almost imprisoned. They had this lake that would go straight across their backyard, and I asked the builder, I said, how would these people exit their backyards if anything happened to them or they needed to escape? Because we have such freedom in Royal Palm in our yards. It's like when we grew up as kids. We were able to run around and play in our yards with our neighbors, and we didn't have fences, and it's such a beautiful thing. So I just was so upset with that. I thank you for letting us speak our minds here today, and I just want you to remember that we are a village. And I looked up the definition of village because it was so important to me. Did you all do that too? It's like, it's a we're larger than a hamlet, but smaller than a town. And so then I started looking up all of these things about us, and we were 15,000 people in 1970, and now we're 35,000. So please, let's oppose this together and keep our community. And I promise we'll become more involved if you do it for us. I promise.
Thank you for your comments. Believe it or not, I get asked that question many times. Why we call ourselves a village and not a city? So you're right on point there. James Birch, come on down, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. My name is James Birch. My wife and I own a home in the Elysium at the Arbors. I thank you very much for letting me have this time to speak to you all today. We moved 11 times in my 23 years of military service, so when it came to buying our final home, the one we plan to retire in and live out the rest of our lives, you can bet we were very deliberate about what we were looking for. We took several years of careful and thoughtful searching before we found the village of Royal Palm Beach. We wanted safety and access, and we wanted a mature community that already had the bugs worked out of things like emergency response and zoning, and we wanted a peaceful and predictable natural environment that integrated well with all the commotion of life. We've been really happy with the choice that we made. And as representatives of the community, we thank you for your stewardship of all those precious things. They mean so much when especially when you get to the point where I'm at in my life, where this will be my last move. But this Village Green project stands to dramatically change all the things that we carefully considered and found here. I sure hope a big mistake is not being made for us. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Yes.
I just wanted to know, what branch of service?
Air Force, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I have a son in the Air Force.
Please tell him thank you for his service.
Thank you for your service.
And the young people we have in the service today, they're the ones that need our support. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Curtis Elliott? Curtis Elliott, come on down, sir.
My name is Curtis Elliott. I live at 606 Lakeview at the Trails at Royal Palm Beach. I've been a resident of Royal Palm Beach for 30 years. I've been the president at the Trails for over 10 years, at the board of directors. Professionally, I'm an environmental chemist working with fate and mobility of pesticides on golf courses. I'm going to hold 6 patents on technologies that offer hope to remediate pesticide mobility to sites other than where they're intended, particularly targeting golf industry, but also other arable lands. Absolutely opposed to this project for more reasons than 2 minutes will allow me to tell you. Opening up a 50-year-old golf course to development is opening a can of worms, both legally and sociologically, that nobody wants to deal with. There could be serious legal liability. Even though out of the goodness of their hearts, 13th Floor has offered us the most polluted portion of the golf course as a deed-restricted offering in perpetuity. I mean, that's very kind of them. Of course, it saves them the expense.
They gave you the
of remedial.
perpetuity speech?
Excuse me?
They gave you the perpetuity speech?
Oh, yes. They were very benevolent about all of this. They were talking about the $10 million they were going to offer the village, which wouldn't even begin to address the impacts of this project on the village lifestyle. It's just a horror in so many ways. But I can say that one thing I've noticed is that in bringing these petitions to the people, the level of emotion that I see in their efforts to sign and to come on board was just startling. My experience, you can't get a majority of people to vote to put out a hospital fire. In this case, I had, out of hundreds of signatures, I had 2 people who didn't want to sign, and they just didn't get it, I could tell. Okay? Thank you. I believe political futures may rest on this vote. So, thank you.
Actually, Curtis, I have a question for you. Sir, are you currently in the golf pesticide business, or are you formally?
I'm not in the pesticide business. Right now, I am marketing technologies that are designed to mitigate the consequences of pesticides moving to non-target locations, particularly in the golf industry.
So have you noticed then with some of the courses that you've spoken with, is the golf industry in decline?
It is in decline, but I'll tell you for sure, there are no successful nine-hole commercial golf courses in South Florida for sure. There are maybe a couple in the Midwest. So this one is putting lipstick on a pig.
Oh, that's a Wall Street term. Did you know that?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Alan and Jean Sandoff. Come on down.
I'm Jean Sadoff, and I live in Elysium at the Arbors. And my husband Alan and I are opposed to this development for reasons that have already been said. But when we moved here to Royal Palm Beach about 25 years ago, we felt we were moving into a village, and this is no longer a village. It's a city now with the population growth. And we don't want the population to grow anymore. There are so many developments that have gone up here and that are still going up at the present time. So we don't want our beautiful golf course to be taken away and developed into all these homes. And also, personally, we live on the golf course. We don't want our beautiful view to be taken away from us. And we feel that the value of our home and our property would decrease if these homes went up. So we're opposed to this project.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Margaret Carlisle, come on down. You get your chance.
That's right. He's with you.
Margaret Carlisle, I live in Counterpoint. I'm Jeannie's sister, and she's a lot nicer than I am. I've been a resident of this village for over 30 years, and I have watched it with great disgust and disillusionment disintegrate into an inner city. I'm sick of it. When I moved here, there were beautiful wooded areas, there were animals living there, kids had places to play, there were open fields with cows and horses, there were farm stands where you could buy fresh produce from local farms. All of those things are gone. Now what we have is a bunch of strip malls, mostly empty, a bunch of empty offices you have to look at when you go by every day. The traffic in this place has become unbearable. Yesterday it took me 10 minutes to go on 441 from Belvedere Road to Southern Boulevard. 10 minutes. I could have walked back and forth in less than that. and it's that way everywhere here. It's overdeveloped, the roads are inadequate, the schools are inadequate, the water is inadequate, everything is inadequate for the amount of people and the amount of development that has been allowed to occur by this village. And it's the responsibility of the officials of this village who let this development reach this point. Now, to take this golf course, 450 houses, what is that? Maybe 2,000 more people? How many thousands of cars would that be, since this whole town is now turning into some sort of a parking lot? People don't have one car anymore, or two, they have 5. So what's that going to be, 2,000, 2,500 more cars right here on Okeechobee, which you can't get down now? It's a disaster. It should not be allowed. It should be kept as open area. If the golf course closes, then it should become a park or an open area for the residents of the town. Don't take away any more of the nature that used to be the beauty of this village and replace it with strip malls.
Thank you. David Bolsa. Come on up, sir.
My name? Sure. David Bosca. I live at the Elysium at the Arbors, and I've been a resident for about 20 years. And I think a challenge that the council, faces is to, make decisions based on the powers that it does have, and a lot of times, obviously, we live in a much bigger community, and we can't do much about the surrounding area. So even if we do due diligence and make decisions that we are able to make, there's a lot of factors that we don't have control over. 20 years ago, when I was moving in here, there was talk of developing a lot more access roads to the village, Roebuck Road, and extending State Road 7. We know. We can't. Yeah. Those things have not happened, and I do think that that's a justification to give to developers that, well, maybe until those things do happen, we really can't consider more developments of this kind. So that's a thought, to make clear to people that we live in a bigger world too, and so if we don't do what we can that's within our power, we'll be faulted for that. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Rachel Bibby. Come on down.
That's right. Straighten it out. Don't let them keep pronouncing it wrong.
It's Bybee. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's so short. I'm Rachel Bybee, and I live in La Mancha, and I too live on Ponce, and we back up to the golf course. We have the widest section of the canal right now. It's absolutely beautiful. I have pictures of bald eagles in my backyard in the golf course. So all kinds of birds, all kinds of animals. We lived in Pompano for 32 years when we decided that we wanted a different life for our children. My sister had moved up here in 2001, and we researched every neighborhood to find the best place for us to raise our family. We've been licensed with Place of Hope for 5 years as foster parents, so we have kids that come in and out of our home constantly, and I'm just appalled to think of any more traffic, any more just the chaos that it would cause. There's no new schools planned to open. I did talk to 13th floor homes about that. Everyone's going to be zoned to go to Royal Palm Elementary. My son goes to H.L. Johnson. We had some issues at school this year. There was not one other classroom that he could be moved to get him out of that class because it was already so full. So that concerns me as a parent. We're leaving this world to these kids, and we need to make sure that they have a place that's as special as Royal Palm is, because I still think it's special. It has its issues, as does every town, but we came here because of what it offers. And I hope that you understand how many people oppose it. I've been talking with Joe, and we just don't want to see any more traffic. We don't want to see any more, any of that. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your comment. Susan Bertuccini. If you want to speak, man, you have to come up here. But if you don't want to speak, that's up to you.
Hi, my name is Susan Bertoncini. I currently live in Greenway Village North. I used to live in Strathmore Gate West. I was a board of directors there. I am currently on the board for Greenway as well. I agree with everything that everybody said. No new schools, you just keep building. Southern Boulevard, that was supposed to be like a city place, I was told. It looks more like a line of apartment buildings and sort of like a Trump Village in Brooklyn that I can relate to. I just believe that it's time. A village goes up to 20,000 people. We're at 35,000. I think it's time that we focused on the existing community. Quality, not quantity. Exactly. The existing community and the quality of life that we all want for Royal Palm Beach. We could live in Delray or Boynton Beach if we wanted all of that. But we're here, and we want to stay here. And I think the quality of life and the quality of the community is more important than a few dollars from developers who really don't care about us. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here who submitted a card who wishes to speak? The reason why I'm asking. No, on this subject, yeah. Okay, come on up. You submitted a card. The reason why I'm asking is because I got a number of cards here where people are saying they oppose the project, but they didn't indicate that they wanted to speak. So that's why I'm asking.
Sure. Craig Fialkowski, 1547 Fiddlewood Court, Royal Palm Beach, Madison Green. I've been a newbie here. I'm only here 15 years. I hear people here 30 years. Oh my gosh.
Only 15?
It's insane. But like many of the other people who have been here, we moved here because we did our research and we looked at all the other towns and places that were available to us. Although in 2003 there wasn't a lot of choices in terms of properties that you could pick up because of the market was on fire. So in any event, I'm opposed to this, and I urge you all to oppose it as well. Just say no. All you have to do is just when the developers come to your door, just say no. Slam the door shut. No need to talk any further about it. Don't even have to bring the proposal to the council at all. I played golf at the Village Golf Course on Wednesday. It was packed. It was oversold. The wait to play was off the charts.
Snowbirds.
And I taught, well, maybe many, but you know what? It doesn't matter. They play, yeah. and they come to the town, and they maybe they buy lunch, or they have family, or they enjoy just being here instead of going to Palm Beach Gardens or Wellington. So my position is that there's plenty of there's a demand for golf, obviously. Even if it's not just residents of Royal Palm, it's people from outside of the area who come to visit it and spend money in our town. But again, it was crowded, and the people that I talked to said it's like this on a regular basis. So, obviously there's a demand, and I don't think we should change that in any way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. I thought all right, there was someone else who raised their hand? Come on up. You submitted a card? Okay.
Linda Horanzi, I live in Strathmore Gate.
Okay.
I've been here over 30 years. I lived in the Willows for 28. Just moved to Strathmore Gate after my husband passed away. So, but we have one way in, one way out. We cannot get out onto Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. If you're trying to make a left-hand turn, you take your life in your hands because you can't see the traffic coming from the other way. It's just, if we have any more traffic, we're not going to be able to even leave our house at all to go grocery shopping or do what we have to do, go to doctor's appointments. So that's very important that we be able to exit and enter safely into our development. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. All right, on this topic of the golf course, is anyone else submitted a card, want to speak? Come on up, ma'am.
Diana Catalo, The Willows. I'm a resident here for now 26 years. Been an active realtor for 21. And as a realtor even, I am opposed to the building on the golf course. Reason being, for the same reasons as everybody else, we all love being here, but we got to deal with the extra traffic, the congestion in the schools. We're already exceeding the capacity. So we got to think about that. We have nowhere to expand to add on different schools, so that's going to present a problem. We also have to take into consideration the taxing of all of our emergency services. I mean, it's difficult enough right now. We're thin enough, but maybe by adding this, it might just put enough of a strain on it to where it's not going to be beneficial to the town. Also, what about the hurricanes? When we have hurricane threats, everything is packed. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to get. So if we put another 450 homes in here, bring in about 8 to 1,000 people more, we're going to put a strain on that as well. So as a whole, I think we all can say, yes, we all bought here for reasons, for the pureness, the open land, the family orientation that we have in these neighborhoods. But I do think that letting a developer in general in any part of Royal Palm Beach at this time is going to be a big mistake.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who submitted a card wanted to speak? All right, all the cards, yes, sir, did you submit a card?
Late and did not get a chance to submit a card.
Come on up, don't worry about it. You want to talk about the golf course, right?
This is the golf course, yes.
Okay.
State your name, spell it, and your address.
Okay, yes, I
Since
got
you
it.
didn't record.
I got it. My name is Jerry Karish, K-A-R-U-S-H. My address is 182 Parr Drive in Lantern Walk. I am currently serving on the board as vice president. I had 2 points to make. One is I wanted to share with the community and with the board here, with the council, that we as a board officially took a vote to oppose the project for all of the reasons that have been brought up so far. And the second point I want to make very quickly is I'm one of these rare birds who is a professionally trained demographer. There's not many of us around who are professionally trained and certified. And I have to say the challenge that you folks are going to face, and what I heard tonight, very common problem, not just here, but all over the country, is how do we deal with the limits of population growth and population pressure? And the challenge I think that you folks are going to deal with, that we as a community have to deal with, is how do we manage to restrain growth and have a balanced approach to limiting growth and maintaining the quality of community life in a financially feasible fashion. That's not something we can answer tonight, but the roots of the problem are there regardless of what happens with this particular development. There'll be other projects coming along. We're all going to be faced with the same issues. So I think what I see going on from my perspective is the need for the council to really address long-term the strategies. And you may have done that. I've only been here for 3 years, so I'm a newbie. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For the record, you've submitted an official document, the petition from the HOA?
Yes, from our HOA.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Somebody raised their hand. Yes, ma'am.
May I speak? We came in late. So
Come on up. Sure.
Sure. Okay, yes. Good evening. My name is Vicki Angelini. I live at 159 Pinto Palm Court in Royal Palm.
Oh, that's a nice place. Yay, Pinto Palm.
Pinto Palm. Anyway.
Ask you to come, did he?
You get an extra minute.
There we go, yes.
Yeah,
Well, as a community, we live in Strathmore. We have 225 units, so probably in excess of 400 residents. Most of us still drive, and as it was mentioned earlier, it's really difficult at certain periods of time during the day to get in and out of the community as it is now. And we know the other big developments are not even near completion, or people aren't driving to and from. So we have all that added traffic that will be coming. And then to add even more, I think the council in the village needs to show some restraint. It's not all about the dollar up front. We need to kind of keep that in mind for the quality of life for everybody. Royal Palm Beach Boulevard in front of from Veterans Park all the way to Okeechobee literally is bumper to bumper, both ways. I'm very happy that we only have a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, so hopefully no one will get killed. But it's a very difficult thing now. I can't imagine with an additional couple thousand more cars on the road, maybe not all at once coming down Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, but it's something that we really, as a council and a village, need to address, even if it meant, I mean, I'd be happy to give you another $1 now as opposed to taking another $1 from a developer. And I think our community, we raised a petition, and we had, I don't know how many, but they've already been emailed to you, a petition with a lot of people opposing it in our community. So
All right.
thank
Once
you for
again,
your time.
I want to emphasize on the petitions, it has to be from people who live in the village.
Yes, we all
Okay.
live there.
Oh, no, okay, good.
Yes,
Thank you. Did you submit a card, sir? Yes. Come on up.
Yes. Dr. Ronald Swanson, I was the Vice President of the Estates of Royal Palm Beach, the Homeowners Association, for the past 15 years. I just stepped down from that due to other obligations, but I want to say that our village or our community is universally opposed to this as well. One other thing I'd like to remind, in addition to all the points that have been made so far, one thing I want to remind you as council members is that, excuse me, Westgate is being built, and that is going to be an additional,
Westlake?
Westlake, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Westlake is being built, and I believe that's an additional like 4,000 homes. And right now, Okeechobee is already a parking lot, as we have talked about. The only access that this new community has is onto Okeechobee. And that, with Westlake being built, that additional traffic burden is going to be real, even more so than it is already. And building something else when their only access is right there on Okeechobee is going to be a grave mistake.
Just to clarify something, though, that's not true. That's not their only access. Their access points for Westlake will be north and south. On the south side, it'll be State Road 80. On the north side, it'll be North Lake Boulevard. But one of the things that I want to point out to people, the communities of Loxahatchee Groves lowered their speed limit on Okeechobee. And already they've seen results of traffic deciding not to take Okeechobee because they don't want to go 30 miles an hour, and so they go south down to State Road 80 as opposed to, but your point, I just want to point that out from a context standpoint, but yeah, thank you for your.
And that's where we drive.
Yeah, what I'm referring to specifically is not Westlake, but the access, the only access
that they want to
new
do.
community has.
They're looking at accessing on Okeechobee Boulevard.
Right.
I got that. Sure. Okay. Good point. Thank you. Anyone else who had submitted a card? If you submitted a card, your position of being opposed and the information you put on your card will be part of the official record. Okay, so just because you didn't speak doesn't mean it's not included. It will be included. But if there's no one else here who would like to speak, one last chance. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I'm going to close public comment now on the petition that was submitted regarding the Village Golf Course and the proposal made by the 13th floor developer. Just want to put a couple of points into context. First of all, I want to just give you, on behalf of the council, we really, really appreciate and thank you so much for coming out tonight to share your thoughts and concerns. We've been wanting to hear from our community on how you felt about this. Understand this process that is going on. It's a transaction that the village has nothing to do with. It's a transaction in an open marketplace between the developer and the people who own the golf course. However, nothing can happen, nothing can be done on this golf course until this council acts on a request that they would have to make to change the zoning and land use on the golf course. So nothing's going to happen. I don't care what stories you may hear or what stories the developer's telling you or the owners of the golf course until this council comes together. And up to this point in time, we have not received any official application whatsoever on this project. All right, so right now it stands with what they've been doing and talking to you in the community, making their presentations, but nothing beyond that of anything that's official, nothing has been submitted to us. If something is submitted, if they do in fact go forward wanting to submit an application, there's a full-blown vetting process that they will have to go through. Before it would get to a point where it comes before our Planning and Zoning Commission and it comes before this council, we're looking at a 5 to 6 month timeline, all right, if they would submit something within the next few weeks. So it's, you know, now I say 5 to 6 months, that there are variations on that, but this is not something that you should feel like, oh, this is just going to happen 1, 2, 3, and before you know it is done. I also want to put into context for you, those of you who've lived here more than 15 years or more than 10 years, you were here when this village went through a similar process with the Traditions Golf Course. How many of you remember Traditions Golf Course, all right? It is now Commons Park, all right? What that says is that when the issue for the citizens similar to you, we had citizens who came to the village council and said, hey, we don't want to lose our open space. I bought my house on a golf course. You know, I paid extra for that. Property values, quality of life, a lot of the same issues that you were raising tonight were raised then. And as it worked, it had to work its way through its own process, all right? It had to have a natural flow of how that was going to proceed. And the outcome of that was this council acted in a way that protected your quality of life and protected the fact that we retain the open space. And I think, I got to tell you, Commons Park is the talk of the county. There's no other park like it that's within a city. And I'm not talking about county parks, I'm talking about within cities, like our Commons Park, which makes us a special place and has a positive impact on your property values as well. So I just want to put that in context for you that, you know, it's been a policy in the past for this council to say, hey, you know, we want to make sure we protect the quality of life in open spaces. We cannot make any preordained, you know, decisions or anything like that. This thing has to go through a normal process. The owner of the golf course has a due process right, and so does the potential buyer, in this case, the developer. But it'll go through its course, and we want to continue to hear feedback from you. If there are more petitions, we want the petitions. We just want them to be good petitions. We want people, and please don't ask somebody who already signed a petition to sign a second one and a third one. But you understand what I'm saying. So once again, you know, thank you very much. And if any members of council would like to make any comments, I'll open it up to you. Go ahead, Richard.
I'd just like to reiterate what the mayor said is thank everyone. I mean, you guys are so far ahead of the ball. I'm really impressed by everyone being here tonight because about 16 or 17 years ago, I was out there with you guys, except for it was a much smaller thing that was off of Southern Boulevard. I bought into a place and I bought next door to single family residential, and of course a developer comes in and says, well, let's change this to commercial and townhomes and, you know, single family homes and just cram a lot more in there. And we didn't have the numbers like you guys did, and the council was different at the time, and that council said, what a good idea, we're going to do this. And here we are, that was about 2004, here we are in 2018, it's still not done. So that's not something that's lost on me because I lived right next door to it, and the only member on the council at the time that voted our way was him. He's the only one left. So just keep in mind that we are up here to be your representatives. We work for you. And as the mayor said, contact us, engage us, tell us what your thoughts are, because that is our job. And again, great job getting ahead of the ball and stay involved. Thank you.
Agreed.
But I just want to add that keep talking to us. Tell us what you're thinking, and listen to what we are thinking as well. When Craig brought this up to me, I told him that one of the things that really helps is a well thought through presentation. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with what's here. And what it does is it gives us something substantial to work with. I understand being upset about that. We live on a golf course too. And I can imagine, just what it would look like if it wasn't the 6th hole. And that's not a pretty sight, especially when we so much enjoy what we bought into, for the same reasons you all discussed. But the idea of providing us with something substantial, and I heard a number of good ideas, good thoughts here, valued kinds of things that are worth our consideration, and that I promise you will give serious consideration to. And the presentation that's logical and rational is really appreciated. So thank you for that. Keep the conversation going. Thank you.
I'll just echo my fellow council here. We're really thrilled that you came out. It's good to hear what you have to say. We are listening, and we will take that to heart. So thank you, and stay engaged.
You don't have to.
Ditto, good, ditto.
Just want to make sure everybody.
I've spoken to most of you individually already, so I'm
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Ray?
I have no comment unless you want me to explain anything about the process or anything like that, if they
Well,
do apply. Which
Well,
I think
actually, I have a question
Go ahead.
for Ray, because
Okay.
it was my understanding, one of the gentlemen who came up and spoke tonight said that this was the developer going to the owner and trying to get the owner to do something, whereas I thought it was the opposite way around, is the owner didn't want to be in the golf business anymore and wants to get rid of his property. Do we know if either way is true? Because that was my understanding, and I'll tell you, I never talked to the owner, so I don't know, but that was my understanding, is this is something that was initiated by the owner wanting to sell his golf course and get out of the golf course business.
I have had conversations with the owner over the last probably 4 years, and that is what they led me to believe, that they do want to sell and they do want to get out of the business.
Well, actually, well,
I've heard that.
yeah, actually,
Heard that.
the owners of this property live in Ohio, so they're not local.
Right.
And the point that the village manager made, I too have met, along with the village manager, with the owners. He flew down from Ohio, and we basically told him that, if you want to have a process where you want to talk to the residents, we can't stop you from doing that. But I think I made it clear that there's a process that's going to have to go on here, and this council has to act on it. So
There's a couple of things I can respond to just to give you information and maybe take this part out of one of your fears of the equation. And I did see the developer's presentation. He did share, it's on the internet, so you can go to it and you can look at it. The $10 million is not $10 million to the village. That was $10 million in impact fees that would be paid as a result of his impact to county roads, state road, or not county roads, city roads, and all the public facilities. So that's not a check to the village. The idea of increased taxes and somehow that's a huge incentive. Yes, his development has more taxes being paid to all the taxing agencies than the golf course. But if you look at that incremental amount compared to what our current general fund budget, it's nothing that would drive the bus on this. So that's not, you are fortunate. I appreciate hearing all the things that people said about living in this town. I think a lot of us chose to live here for those same reasons. And we are a financially sound town, and that is not what drives the decisions on this. This is the first decision is a land use decision. If they apply for that land use change, it will be in staff review until the application meets all of our criteria, as the one gentleman read from our comp plan. That comp plan, they have to meet every one of those conditions, or show us how they're meeting every one of those conditions. When they are complete in doing that, then it goes to the planning board and then the council for a public hearing. And that would be the first public hearing on it. If the council accepts that public hearing, it would go to the state for no more than 6 months for a review by the state. So that's the time frame you're looking at. This is not something that's just going to happen overnight, and we don't even have an application to date. But we do feel, based on the conversations they're having with the people out there, that there may be an application. I think 13th floor represented to us that they're different than other golf course purchasers out there in the sense that they don't like to bring something to the local authority without some support from the community. It looks like they have a lot more work to do if that's what their goal is.
A lot of work. Good. No, it did not. That's not true.
They bought it pretty quick.
No, we...
Traditions, discussions of selling Traditions probably went on for several years. They actually never made it to an application on the full golf course. The people that lived around that did some similar, actually this is like deja vu, they did the same thing. They started coming before applications were even applied for.
Which information are you referring to?
What I want to know, and I think we all want to know, is if this potentially could happen. 6 months is very quick, by the way, in our eyes. I don't think 6 months is a long time. I think that goes by real quick.
You're more than welcome to call the village offices, or either my office, the village manager's office, 790-5103, or the planning director's office, 753.
79051.
You have representatives up here, elected representatives up here too. You can contact.
753-1120. Bradford O'Brien, happy to take your call.
So, and because he's the one that is the intake for the application, and like I said, this isn't going to happen quickly. But if you call us, we will give you answers on anything that's happening on that golf course. Well, we don't have any answers. There's no application. But we're more than happy to answer any of your questions and give our office the call.
So just a quick question. I heard somebody use the "just say no" phrase. Is that an option? Do you have to?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. You do not have to go through all the.
No.
Nobody's entitled to anything.
No, there is. I said this. There is a due process that the owner of the properties is entitled to, like you would be entitled to, right? And there's a due process for the applicant. But that's what the village manager just explained. There is a process that they have to go through. So it's not just, here's my application, and we just say no. We would go through that process. But at the end of the day, this council will have, if it goes to that point, we'll have an opportunity to say whether or not we will or will not. We are not compelled. But what we want to make sure of is that we don't put the village in a position where we give either the owner or the applicant a reason to try to take us to court. And by making sure that we have a transparent process and the rules are followed and there's a due process for everyone involved, we protect the village that way.
But the buck stops there.
The buck stops here. You're right. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. If the golf course is considered a public golf course, the owners, as it was stated, do not live in Royal Palm. They have no vetted interest in Royal Palm. They're just looking for money.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, basically, they have no ties here. If push came to shove, wouldn't it be beneficial for the village of Royal Palm to take over that golf course and make it profitable and for the community? If you live in Royal Palm, maybe you get a discount to do the golf, and if you're...
All right, let me... Let me... Hold it.
No, but what they're saying is they can't hear the question, so they need to come to the mic.
But, all right, that's the question was, if push came to shove, could the village take over the golf course? The short answer to that is, I'm going to say again, there's a process that has to happen. The village is not going to do anything to take any kind of preempted position that will contaminate that process. All right? If there's a situation that comes about after whatever this process yields, that there's a willing seller and a willing buyer condition, which is part of due process, then that might be an option, absolutely, that we could consider. But we will not preempt that in any fashion, form, or way. And I will repeat, I said, if you lived here 10 to 15 years, you know the history of what has happened before, all right, in terms of this village council making sure we maintain open spaces. So let's leave it at that, okay?
Will you keep it in vector? Just
Yeah, this all the stuff we'll keep putting information in vector for you to be able to go in there, keep up to date on it. Thank you. Okay. Tell your neighbors
Change the name.
to sign up for it. No. That's okay. It's an alert notification.
You will now.
Ray, is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. Jennifer? No?
You've explained the process. That's
Yeah.
the key. We need to
Make
let
sure
them
we
go through
follow the process.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, as you can see, I wanted to give everybody one last comment. Go ahead.
I think for a lot of residents in Royal Palm that have friends and family on acreage in Waxahachie, we saw what happened with Westlake.
Westlake, yeah.
And nobody wanted that. And it was all about money.
Well, no. But let me put something in context for you about Westlake, because I've had many conversations with the elected officials for ITID in the acreage, and they did not have any say on that agreement. That was done at the county level, okay? We're your local government, all right? So nobody on the outside is going to come here and just tell us we will be. So it's a completely different kind of a context, okay? Listen, we have other business to take care of tonight. I appreciate, again, all of you coming here. Thank you so very much. If any of you want to stay through the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to stay. But if you do not, if you want to depart, I'm going to make a 2-minute recess to give you a chance to report. Thank you all very much. Okay. All right, we're gonna reconvene at this time and continue with the rest of the agenda. And believe it or not, we're still on statements from the public on non-agenda items or comments on the consent agenda. I do not have any cards for comments on the consent agenda, but I do have 2 cards for items not on the agenda this evening. And we'll start with Denise Hopkins. Come on, Denise. Come on down.
Good evening, Denise Hopkins, 134 Dirt Lane. Good evening, Mayor Pinto, council, staff, and residents. It is an honor and privilege for me to serve as the co-chairperson of the Royal Palm Beach Prayer Team at Oasis Church. We meet every Friday. We pray for the entire village. I worship at Oasis Church.
You have to push the button.
Is it on?
There you go. I made an assumption, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So I worship at Oasis Church. We're located at 16401 Southern Boulevard. You are all welcome to join us for a candlelight service on Monday at 7 p.m. It's an honor and privilege to serve you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the invitation.
Mr. Neil Kaufman, come on down, sir.
No, do you want to do 3 minutes or 2 minutes?
You go back to 3 minutes.
My name is Neil Kaufman. I'm the owner of Above and Beyond Preschool, 672, 678 Camellia Drive. And I'm here in an ongoing issue I have about extending the hours of my preschool. We're open from 6:30 in the morning till 6 at night. There's people in the community. I met with the CEO of Palms West. Their hospital shift is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Police, fire, EMC responders. There are other industries that have second and third shifts, and I'm running into a difficult time. The city has to sign off before the Department of Health will approve the extended hours, and I want to share a voice message with you.
Existing non-conforming use. We don't allow businesses to operate in RS2.
Yes, there are 3 on my street.
So, number one, you're already getting something that nobody else is allowed.
That's not true. The other 2 are also operating.
Daycare center, he interprets the village code. That is his job duty. He has determined that daycare center, when it's applied in an RS2 zoning district, means during daylight hours. So you would not be able to do the evening daycare. Regarding where it says that in the code, it does not say it in the code.
Yes, he's interpreting the code that doesn't exist.
Has told us that our code is a permissive code, meaning that it tells you what you are allowed to do. So if it doesn't tell you specifically that you are allowed to do something, you are not allowed to do it.
Okay, so if I ask Siri what time sunset is tonight, it's at 5:30, but we're open till 6 o'clock, so I'm in Oh, another minute. I don't need a minute. I'll be done less. So at 5:30 it becomes dark. So according to their interpretation of a code that doesn't exist, we're in violation of the code being open till 6. It's a permissive code that if it's not in the code, you're not allowed to do it. Is there a code that the city councilman, Jeff, is allowed to wear a white shirt with a red tie? Because if there's not, then he's not allowed to.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying is that I'm running into problems.
Okay, this is not the place to mediate those problems, okay? You got a problem, you put an application in, you're not happy with, you don't think you're being, the process.
An application.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Did you submit an application for this? Okay. Now,
It's denied.
if you're not, it was denied. Well, if you have any follow-up questions, I suggest you give a call to the village manager.
And the code manager said I need to come before the board to get a new code.
No, I'm suggesting because you have this concern, sir, have a conversation with our village manager and let him address the issue for you then.
He did.
Well, if I hear what the gentleman's saying is he tried to initiate a process, and what he's trying to do is not provided by the code. So am I wrong in that? Because I know that, businesses in homes aren't allowed. I've been up here for certain things like that before, but I know one of the exceptions is, the home daycare, because they're
Not a home.
preempted by the state.
Yes.
It's not a home. It's a 9,000 square foot commercial
On Camellia
property.
Drive, where this is located.
Okay.
And just so council knows, I have made this call along with the planning and zoning director. Both of us have conferred on this project, and at the end of the day, the planning and zoning director under our zoning code has the final decision-making authority on uses that are prohibited and uses that are permitted. That's what your code says. So what he said, I looked at and I agree with. There are 3 daycares that currently exist on Camellia. All 3 of them are non-conforming uses. They were permitted by the village back in the day, but the zoning code does not allow for them today. If you look through the RS2 zoning district regulations, you will not see daycare listed in there. But because those uses already were established, they are grandfathered. But the problem with being grandfathered and non-conforming, that means that they cannot expand upon the use.
In other words, you can't be non-conforming and become more non-conforming.
Correct. You cannot expand. Right. So when the application came in to do a nighttime care facility for children, currently they are allowed as a non-conforming day care. Our opinion is, mine legally and his as a planning professional, is expanding into the whole nighttime hours for care for children is expanding a non-conforming use. Therefore, it is not permitted. And there is a code section that actually says that, and it is section 26-41 of the village code. It specifically says you cannot expound upon a non-conforming use. So that is the decision That is the final decision, and that's all I have to say about that.
But would a
Well, the
special exemption or a
decision
variance
has been
allow to
made,
change
if I
that?
can ask
Sir.
Jennifer. Mr. Mayor, so a final decision on this issue has been made.
Yes, and as
Okay.
Kevin Irwin left in the voice message, the only recourse is for this property owner to apply for a zoning text change, and at that point in time, council would have to consider two things. One, allow daycare facilities in all RS2 districts.
To begin with.
To begin with,
Here now.
which is not allowed, and then
Right.
also if you would add nighttime care. So
Okay.
that's what the zoning text amendment would have to be. But that's on the property owner to decide whether or not he wants to pursue that or not.
But
I think you got your answer
if
on
I,
your
well,
options.
I got,
Go ahead, Richard.
if that was a final decision of the village, there's got to be some type of appellate review. He could go, how does that go?
What he did is he did it through business tax receipts and trying to.
Okay, so it wasn't
through
an
the health
actual
department and
petition
then getting
type
the
thing. Okay, so
health
it's-
department needs a sign off
Okay,
from
I
the planning and
understand
zoning
that.
director. He denied it because it's not allowable.
Okay.
And if he applied for a zoning text change, then it would go through our process, and he would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, then come to council,
so
and then
the-
he would have
so now I
appeals
understand.
rights.
Right, so
Yes.
that's, okay, my point is, his option right now is to apply for a zoning text change.
If that is
If he wants to continue to pursue it.
correct.
Okay?
Zoning tax?
Text,
Text.
TES, zoning text change.
Right.
And
That's
in applying for that, it sounded like I could lose my special exemption?
I don't
You
know.
can continue operating as you are operating today. You cannot expand beyond your existing hours. So if your existing hours under your county license currently are 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., which is common, that is the common daycare hours for Palm Beach County, you cannot go beyond that.
I
If we
understand,
find
but
out that you've gone beyond that, you'll be subjected to a code enforcement action. Okay?
I didn't say I'm going beyond it now.
All right, sir.
But my question is she just said that there's the possibility that with a zoning text change, I could lose that special exemption that we have now.
That's not what she
I didn't
said.
hear that at all.
That's not what she said. That's not what she said. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, before I close public comment on non-agenda items and consent agenda items, is there anyone who didn't submit a card who'd like to comment on such? Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on non-agenda items and on consent agenda items. And let's do the consent agenda, Diane.
Mayor,
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you. Number one, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of November 15, 2018. Two, approval and authorization in accordance with established policy to make a budget amendment for Fund 303 in the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget. Said amendment to transfer a total of $15,000 from undesignated fund balance 0100 to electronic plan review GA1803. 3, approval to contract with vendor Evolve for the hosting and implementation of Project Docs, electronic plan review system. Project Docs electronic plan review solution will accelerate the permitting process by enabling effective collaboration between departments and reviewers, making it fast and easy to submit, review documents and drawings, process corrections, and monitor and improve the work process. The seamless integration to planning and zoning, to planning and engineering and building permits database will allow drawings, plans, and project permitting information to be stored in one central location for a more efficient process for community development, planning and zoning, and engineering departments, and the community. Implementation, training, and first-year hosting services will be made from State Contract 4323 0000 NASPO 16 ACS SVAR, Software House International, for $215,000. 4, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a professional services agreement for urban forestry services with Cutler and Herring for various projects in the village of Royal Palm Beach.
Thank you. Any comments from members on council? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda was approved 5-0. Regular agenda item R1 is a public hearing to consider variance application 18-71, an application by Trinity Asphalt Paving in variance order BC 18-03 to provide for a variance to allow only 30 parking spaces for medical office use, which requires 31 parking spaces as established in Section 25-51, required minimum number of parking spaces, for a property located at 11476 Okeechobee Boulevard.
This is quasi judicial, so if you are here to speak on this application, if you could raise your right hand and I'll swear you in at this time. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And now I'll ask counsel if anyone has any ex parte disclosures that they need to make.
None.
None.
All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. As you stated, the applicant is requesting a parking variance to Village Code in order to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 31 to 30 parking spaces for medical office use for property located 11476 Okeechobee Boulevard. Village Code Section 2353A1 allows Village Council to grant variances to the parking code when special conditions and its circumstances exist. Special conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant, will not confer on the applicant special privileges that are denied to other lands. Literal interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant of the rights enjoyed by other lands. The minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the property. The variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning code. Village staff supports the applicant's request to reduce the number of parking spaces from 31 to 30 in order to provide for the required number of handicap parking spaces. The applicant is trying to retrofit the site to meet the new ADA rules, and as a result, they have to use one of the parking stalls to meet the new ADA rules. Village Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application on November 27th, 2018, recommended approval by a vote of 5-0, and again, staff is supporting this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? No?
I don't see the applicant here tonight.
Okay, I just wanted to give them an opportunity. They were here. Any comments from members on council? If none, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that regular agenda item R1 was approved 5-0. Agenda item R2 is a public hearing to consider application 18-0111, an application by Especially Therapy LLC, and adoption of resolution number 18-35, confirming the council's action. The applicant is seeking approval of a special exception for a state licensed massage therapist establishment on approximately 7.052 acre site located at 1402 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, Building 700, Suite 107, situated within the Lakeview Center Office Park. This is quasi judicial, so.
Thank you. If anyone's here to speak on this application, if you can raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now I'll ask counsel if anyone has any ex parte disclosures that they need to make.
None.
All right, thanks.
Great, thank you. As you can see here on the slide, this is where the site is located. And in reviewing this petition, village staff considered conformity with the Village of Royal Palm Beach Code of Ordinances 2632 F4 special exception applications. Specifically, is it consistent with the standards of the village's comprehensive plan? Does it comply with the development regulations of village code? Does it not have adverse environmental impacts? Does it not have adverse vehicular or pedestrian traffic impacts? Does not have an adverse impact upon public facilities? Does not have an adverse impact on adjacent properties? Compatible with the character and living conditions of the existing neighborhood? Does not have an adverse impact on property values in the adjacent areas? Is not a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent property? And the proposed special exception will not seriously reduce the quality or quantity of light, air, or availability to adjacent properties. Again, village staff is supporting this application. Village Council has approved state licensed massage therapist establishment at various locations within the village, and the conditions of approval that are being recommended for this massage therapist use are similar to those for previous massage therapist approvals. The applicant is in agreement with the recommended conditions, and they are listed here on this slide. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved this application by a vote of 5-0 on November 27, 2018, and again, staff is recommending approval. Turn the floor back
Okay,
over to you,
thanks,
Mayor. Thank you.
Applicant like to make comments? So you're comfortable with the way it was presented by staff? Okay. Comments from members on council? If there are none, I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve regular agenda item number 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R2 was approved 5-0.
Good luck.
Good luck, absolutely, yes. Agenda item R3 is a public hearing for second reading and adoption of ordinance number 945, amending Chapter 15, Landscaping and Vegetation Management, to clarify the properties that are required to comply with the village's minimum landscaping requirements and design standards, to clarify remedies and abatement procedures for violations of Chapter 15, and to clarify the duties of the Planning and Zoning Department and the Community Development Department, to amend the process for landscaping waivers, to outline requirements for installation of landscaping within village rights of way, to clarify pruning and tree replacement requirements, to clarify requirements for vegetation removal permits, and to create new requirements for the identification, conservation, and preservation of specimen trees, and to clarify that minimum landscaping requirements for single-family lots shall be based on net lot area. A lot of clarification going on here.
It's only so many words you can use to describe this.
I know, we're limited. This is the language thing, right?
Thesaurus, check.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. This is second reading, and we are not going to go through the full presentation. Obviously, you've had a workshop, you've had a first reading. I know. You just want to see my graphics again, don't you?
That's it.
The no tree trimming.
We want the scientific names of all the trees.
Okay, yes. But just two things to cover with you all. If you remember at the November 1st council meeting, we had a good discussion about what happens in the event there are certain things that occur on a property that are outside the control of a property owner, and should they really be held to this higher standard with tree replacement? Remember, we're going from the one-to-one replacement to something different. And if it's really not their fault, what do we do in those situations? Council narrowed down these acts of God to 3 types, one being where there's a named storm event in Palm Beach County, where there actually is an emergency declaration made. So we're covering our tropical storms and we're covering our hurricanes. The second issue I'll narrow down was if there was a lightning strike. That's something that our arborists will be able to verify pretty easily. And then the third is if there is a motor vehicle accident. Somebody drives up into somebody's yard and knocks over a tree. Again, something we can verify on the administrative end. So on page 36 of the ordinance, and also I've highlighted it in yellow on your agenda item summary, the new language that has been added in to address this situation. So if one of those 3 things does occur and our arborist confirms that they've occurred and the Planning and Zoning Department takes a look at it with the arborist, if it's a required tree or a specimen tree, they'll just be replaced on the 1-to-1 ratio instead of the other tree replacement schedule. The only other thing I wanted to point out to you, this was taken back to the Planning and Zoning Commission at the end of November. They've now seen this ordinance 2 different times, and they did recommend approval on the most recent version that you are looking at tonight by a vote of 5-0. So I can answer any questions you have, and Mr. Hill's here and Mr. O'Brien's here as well.
Any questions from members on council? If not, then I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, you had to move by title?
Thank
Go ahead.
you.
Right.
Thank you. And it's a long one. Let me find it. Sorry.
More words.
Sorry, it just got crazy.
But Rob did a great job.
Yes.
Yeah, for the newsletter.
Phenomenal accidents.
This is ordinance number 945, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 15, Landscaping and Vegetation Management of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Royal Palm Beach at Article 1 in general, in order to modify definitions relating to tree preservation, to clarify the properties that are required to comply with the minimum landscaping requirements and design standards contained in the chapter, to specify that violations of this chapter may subject the violator to certain non-exclusive remedies, and to clarify that prohibited and/or restricted plant species may not be planted, installed, or maintained in the village except as permitted in this chapter. Further amending Article 2, Administration Waivers and General Standards, to provide that the Planning and Zoning Commission shall review and make recommendations to the Village Council regarding applications for landscape waivers, to further outline the notice requirements for public hearings on requests for landscape waivers, and to outline the requirements for installation of vegetation within village rights-of-way. Further amending Article 3, Vegetation Management, to clarify abatement procedures of the village. Further amending Article 4, Vegetation Protection and Preservation, to modify vegetation removal permit requirements and to provide for new tree preservation requirements. Further amending Article 5, Design Standards, to clarify which properties are required to submit landscape plans for review and to clarify that minimum landscaping requirements for single-family lots shall be based on net lot area. Further amending multiple code sections to clarify the duties of both the Community Development Director and Planning and Zoning Director with respect to enforcing said chapter, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 15, Landscaping and Vegetation Management, shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay, I think we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? Diane, please let the record show that our new landscaping and vegetation management update has been approved 5-0. Thank you all very much for all of the time it took and your input, and I think we came up with something that I think is going to be fair and compassionate, but really help protect our canopy across the village. We have no other business before the council this evening. I'd just like to say to everyone, please have a merry, happy, safe Christmas season and New Year. We won't get together again until the third week in January, so that means I'll see you all probably next year, one way or the other. Maybe we might see each other before then, but enjoy. Thank you all very much, and
Merry Christmas.
good night. Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Nice job.